My name's Angelo, and welcome to We Want Picks. Every week, we break down full fight cards, giving you our picks, our bets, and our fantasy plays. So make sure you like this video and subscribe so you don't miss any of our content. And this breakdown is brought to you by BETU Play to Earn. BETU Play to Earn is the world's first play-to-earn sports and esports betting game. Check it out at betuearn.com. That's bet, the letter U, earn.com. Next up, at UFC 271, we have Carlos Ulberg versus Fabio Cherant. Carlos Ulberg, another one of those guys from City Kickboxing with Izzy and with everybody else on this card, is 3-1 in his full MMA career. And that's because he's a professional kickboxer that transitioned to MMA 10 years ago. He's 3-1 in his last 5, which is his whole career. And he's coming off of that loss to Kennedy Nchukwu. Fabio Cherant is 7-3 overall. He's 3-2 in his last 5, coming off 2 really tough losses in a row. And Carlos Ulberg is a world-class kickboxer. He transitioned to MMA 10 years ago, even though he only has 4 MMA fights. His most recent fight was that loss to Kennedy Nchukwu. He was doing pretty well. He was dominating that fight. He was winning that fight, and then he got caught. He's listed as having a 100% takedown defense, but he has only defended 1 single takedown attempt, and that was from Kennedy Nchukwu. So another guy like Blood Diamond, who we broke down before, nasty kickboxer, still some question marks about the rest of his game, but now we know his chin can get touched because he was put out by Kennedy. Fabio Cherant is a deceivingly athletic guy, and he has had a rough road in the UFC. He fought Alonzo Menafield on short notice to make his UFC debut, and then his next fight out was against William Knight. That's a rough go. Fabio has good power in his left hand. He's athletic. He's got solid submissions as well. But because he has no offensive wrestling, he can't really dictate where the fight goes. And unfortunately, he may need to, because Ulberg is such a skilled kickboxer that Fabio will likely want to take this to the ground. And it's a weird fight. And it's a complicated fight. Like, it's obvious and complicated at the exact same time. Ulberg's an obvious pick because he's an incredible kickboxer, and Fabio doesn't have the wrestling to get it to the ground. That's pretty logical, right? Pretty straightforward. Makes sense. You got to go with Ulberg there. But Fabio is much better than his last 2 fights. If you have only seen his 2 UFC fights and none of his LFA fights and none of his other fights, you assume Fabio Cherant is not good. And that's not the case. He is very good. He's very athletic. He's just had a rough go in the UFC. He hasn't gotten any favors. He sets a nice pace. He mixes in kicks really well. His chin is actually pretty solid. Yeah, he was KO'd by William Knight, but okay, let William Knight hit anybody and see what happens. Ulberg does not have the same level of MMA experience, and he does tend to slow down as the fight goes on. He did an interview. I listened to an interview he did after the Kennedy Nchukwu fight, and he basically said he was really frustrated at how much he was hitting Kennedy and how it didn't matter. Kennedy didn't care. He was still standing. He was still in front of him, took that beating. And he said it frustrated him, and he wished he worked in takedowns, and he wished he did more. And that just goes to that lack of MMA experience. He literally said he did not have the confidence to take a shot, so he kept it standing, and that's what cost him. He was knocked out. So, ultimately, I am going to pick Ulberg because Fabio doesn't really have the takedowns. But, man, I do not love that pick. I am not confident in that pick. And I think Fabio is one of the more live underdogs on this card. And if you've only watched his 2 UFC fights, you're typing away in the live chat that I'm crazy and I'm an idiot. But watch a little more than that, because he's a pretty experienced guy. He's pretty well-rounded. Fights a good game. What do you think, Jacob?
Who was your pick?
My pick is Ulberg.
Okay.
But I said Fabio Cherant is live because Ulberg, we just watched him get knocked out cold, and he's, still working on MMA.
Yeah, he was knocked out cold from exhaustion. A lot of people, I think, are going to give him crap for that because he did blow his load. But if you look at the stats, the guy threw 227 strikes in 7 minutes, which is 32 strikes a minute, which is 1 strike basically every 2 seconds for 7 minutes straight. You're going to get tired when that happens. He just couldn't put the guy away. He was hitting him with everything. It was one of the crazier fights we've ever seen because it's like, oh my God. It was like almost like a 10-7 round in that first round. He was just beating on him so bad. And then he just like, just can't even breathe and gets dropped. But, I agree with you, Fabio, a little bit. I think he's definitely outmatched here. If he can't get the takedowns, if he can't turn this into a grappling match, I think he's in big trouble. But I think he is better than people give him credit for. Because if you watch that William Knight fight, no disrespect to William Knight because he got the win, he was much more technical than William Knight. He was in and out. He was pushing the pace, and in that combo, he was getting ready to. It looked like he was getting ready to knock out William Knight because William Knight was kind of chin back doing his whole thing and just kind of threw that little right hand in there and it caught Fabio. But Fabio, to me, when I was watching that fight, I can't remember if I picked him in that fight, but I was like, oh man, he looks good. He looks good. He's technical. So I think he is going to surprise people a little bit in those early exchanges, but I think Carlos, with his experience, is going to be able to overwhelm him a little bit once he gets a little bit warmed up and finds his range, and Fabio's in for a long night. It might get put away maybe in the second round-ish if Carlos doesn't get tired again. So I think Carlos is a play all the way, but I agree, Fabio, I think might surprise people a little bit in those first couple minutes.
Sure, yeah. I mean, Fabio would be my pick if he had a little bit of wrestling. If he had enough wrestling to like, okay, I don't want to be here anymore, let me take a shot, I'd pick Fabio. I'd take a chance on him, but he doesn't. And that's the issue. And you're just going to hang with this guy and his feet. That could be, that's not going to end well. So I'm going to pick Carlos Ulberg there. And DraftKings, he's like right at the line where I don't know if I'll spend that money because I do think he wins. He does have potential to win by stoppage. He's world-class kickboxer, and Fabio we've seen knocked out. He does have potential to win by stoppage, but I don't know if I'm going to spend the $8,900. What do you think?
I think I might. I'll have to look at it and see how it plays out and stuff, but $8,900, I think he's another potential for the Knockout Kings and Monkey Knight fight. I think I might end up taking that. And I might look for an inside the distance on him in this fight too, like a TKO inside the distance.
Yeah, and Bonquiqui in the live chat mentioned that Fabio's probably a great live bet after the first round. That's a good point. If Carlos Ulberg comes out, guns blazing, starts to gas, starts to slow down, Fabio seems to be surviving, took some of the shots, he's probably a decent live bet because we've seen Ulberg completely gas and then get put out. What is that face you're making? You're looking at odds?
No, I'm looking at odds. And what do you think the odds are for does not go the distance, just for the fight overall?
Minus 200.
Minus 325. That's like that's one of the crazier odds I've ever seen, I think.
For a it's a pretty aggressive prop.
Ulberg inside the distance is minus 155. So they think Ulberg's going to win and knock him out. So
yeah, I think Ulberg is the pick, literally because Fabio doesn't have the wrestling to get it to the ground. But Fabio is one of the more live underdogs on this card. I don't know if I'm going to spend the $8,900. And Monkey Knife Fight, that's an interesting one. I think Monkey Knife Fight is less more because I think Ulberg will land and then he'll get tired. I think Fabio can avoid, maybe more, but I think less more because 88's a lot. 88 is a lot. So I think less more is Monkey Knife Fight.
88's a lot for a guy with his skills. I don't know how Nchekwu took all those shots that he did in that fight. He just had a high guard where I think Fabio is going to want to try to exchange in those exchanges. I think he's going to want to try to give one after he takes one. So yeah, I'll probably play less on this.
Yeah, if you want to check that out, go to wewantpicks.com/MKF. Sign up, make a deposit. They will instantly match that deposit. Use the free money. Use the free deposit match money. Play some lines. See how you do. It's daily fantasy, super easy. And if you want 50 free dollars, go to wewantpicks.com/bets. Sign up with any one of our 5 betting partners. Make a deposit. Let me know after you do, and I will send you $50 as a thank you.